What's up, Dragon Brood? I wanted to bring you a little bit of something different today as we're talking about the Secret Lair Ultimate Edition. And I know I did the reaction video. I'll see if I can link it here, but where we talked about kind of the perspectives that Blake brought to Tulare Community College for that interview. Now that it's actually starting to get into the area where people can make orders, I wanted to talk about the pricing of it because that's become a bit of a discussion today on social media, and I kind of wanted to really just get into the mindset a little bit of like how we need to be treating this. And as usual, please like this video, and if you haven't, subscribe to the channel so you can get updates when we're putting out all this content, since we're putting it every day while we're in isolation for sure. But hopefully we'll keep it up. But either way, y'all do that and we'll get the video started. Okay, so the first thing is talking about just the price of it, right? And this is kind of why when we get into the discussion of why Wizards of the Coast has a price at all on any type of limited product, it just doesn't matter, right? And it's tough because being in the position of somebody at Wizards when you're doing an interview, if they don't give an estimated price, then people just get upset and they'll say, then people are going to price gouge, they're going to do this thing. But then when it comes out, then people complain anyway because the price is going to be higher and price gouge, we'll say. I mean, the truth is, things are just limited, and that's how it goes. I mean, if things limited, the price are going to be higher. I mean, think about it like this. I mean, it's something that we aren't used to as Magic players, as a Magic community, but the truth is that happens with every other product. I mean, there are literally, like, any of you that are into shoes or sneakers or your sneakerheads, right? Like, you get what I'm talking about. Like, there are shoes that are produced by companies that I'm sure only cost them like $20 to make. They do these special limited drops either at a convention or a shoe show or whatever, and those things will sell for $500 on the spot, right? People go out of their way to get them because they know there's only going to be like 200 pair, and then immediately before the end of that weekend they'll take them and put them online and they'll sell them for $1,200, $1,500. Like, that's just the way it is when something's limited. And we see it with everything. We've seen it with electronics, we've seen it with just like you name it, right? But for some reason we think that Magic should be exempt from that. Like, if a thing is only going to be limited to, I don't know, 10 per store, and we know it's super popular, well then yeah, it's just going to be expensive. I don't think that's a reason we need to beat up the different stores over it. I mean, here's the thing. I saw somebody even trying to make the argument of, well, how much did that vendor have to pay for it versus what they're selling it for? Well, one, they have a tax license to operate a business to make money. So to expect them to not sell it for what they can get is kind of silly. The other part of that too is you're asking them to, let's say they paid, I don't even know, let's say they paid like $90 for it. And then you're saying, well, I should be able to pay $165. But then are you not just going to take it at $165 and then go stick it on eBay for a profit? Which, speaking of, before we even get to that, let's discuss what the prices are going for across the board. Now let's start with eBay. Like, here we have some of the most recent finished listings on eBay, right? Completed listings. These are all between like $349 and $399, no matter what you look at, right? So this is like the bottom end of the going rate. So I get it that you heard $165 as the price, but the truth is, would it really make sense for anybody who has them to go and sell them for $165 when almost $400 is the going rate for them? That just seems unrealistic of an expectation. Because, I mean, otherwise, why should the person who's literally, mind you, especially right now, while you have sales being cut short and employees they're still trying to pay for and everything else with all this virus stuff going on, like, you're asking them to not take the best price they can get on it, to sell it for $200 so somebody else can go sell it for $400? Like, it's really not the way things should be working right now. If anything, this is like a boon for those stores from Wizards, really. But let's look at other sources as well. Let's take Star City as an example. Now, here you have Star City's prices, but truthfully, this is cheaper than what you could have bought it for on eBay. Yet people were still wanting to be upset at Star City Games this morning, saying, oh, well, look at them price gouging, or oh, trying to take advantage of the situation. But are they? I mean, they're actually coming in lower than the lowest price we saw. Now, granted, yeah, you have to pay the $7.99 or $9.99, whatever it is, to be in their membership program. But even add the $10, it's still cheaper than what you would be getting or having to pay on eBay. So what's the problem? Right? Like, they again are just trying to get the best price they can get for it. And that's the going rate. And here's the reality. Like, even if you don't buy it at this price, they're still going to sell out. But again, that's not it. Let's look at TCG Player, which sometimes tends to be a cheaper source. And here, even from TCG Player, you're seeing prices in the 400 plus range. So you can't really blame somebody for selling it for so much. Like, this is literally the going rate in the market. I mean, the bottom end is around 250-ish, and then the upper end is going to be around 500. That's just what people are paying for it right now. I mean, I guess, did I say 350-ish? I don't know. I said 250-ish. Maybe I did. I don't know. But either way, 350 is the low end, with 500 being the top end. And there's not a lot you can really do about it. It's all about supply and demand, limited rarity items, right? It doesn't even matter if the thing is a reprint. I mean, hell, they've reissued shoes before that still sell for a lot because they only reissue them in a small enough number. So if people want to get even the reissues, those will carry still some collectible value. Kind of the same thing here. Yeah, they're all fetch lands. You can go buy a set of fetch lands for cheaper. You can almost buy 2 sets of fetch lands, actually, for the same price of buying this off of TCG Player. But that's neither here nor there. There's people who want these special collectible versions, and they're willing to pay for it. Not a lot to be said, honestly. It's just the way it is. Even as you can see, the TCG Player prices are still high. So yeah, what I'm saying is, let's slow our roll a little bit. Like, several people were trying to go after some of these vendors, complaining about different people. And then not only that, they were holding some of their like local stores or local vendors in high regard because they only sold it for $165. Like, here's the thing. I have no problem with somebody selling it for $165. That's their prerogative. But to put them at a much higher pedestal because of the others, well, that's really hard to do, because when you're talking about businesses, a lot of times it's apples and oranges. I mean, again, somebody like Star City, or let's even say, I don't know, maybe Card Kingdom, right? When you're talking about big vendors, they have a lot of employees. I mean, they have several people that they've probably had to lay off or cut hours on or whatever, and their sales they've literally had to cut off on their sites. And I know Channel Fireball, I think, also had cut some of theirs. Like, they're not even making as much money as they can because they're not taking in extra orders right now. And the volume that they operate at requires a much higher volume of dollars. I mean, that's just the way it is. So if they, of all people, aren't trying to give up value, cool. I don't hold it against them at all. But yeah, if you can find a deal, absolutely take it. If you have a local store that's going to give it to you for $165, great. Go for it. But what I will say is this. Don't just go and buy only that from your local store. Because I've seen players that when there's a deal, they'll go to a local store, but then they won't patronize them any other time. And that's a little bit hypocritical, because you're basically saying I only shop with you when I can find the super cheapest price here. Yet you provide all these other things for me in the in-between time, running events and whatnot. And that part's awesome. I support my local store. Like, yeah, but do you? Do you really? You support them when they're choosing to not take extra money that they could very freely and easily get? I don't know how much support that is. That's all I'm saying. I've been in their shoes, so I totally get it. Now, another part of the conversation could simply be, are there enough being produced? Like, could Wizards have just made more money? The answer is very likely yes. Like, if you have these going for $400, that means you could have probably printed double, and the price would have come down at least $100, $150, and then people still would have bought them. So there's a way they could have been printed. Wizards could have made more money. Retailers could have made more money. And there would have been less pain and heartache, I guess, angst and anger. And I think that would have been the real solution here, right? That's what we're really talking about. Selling more and getting into more people's hands, and their bottom line still being better. So on this one, yeah, they missed the mark. I mean, and I get what they base it on. When you go and look at the other secret layers that you printed, basically to order, that everybody wanted, and as they use print to demand, and this number that they're giving out are significantly more than what they had previously on the print to demand orders. But I think the problem is, again, they have their own issue of apples and oranges, where this is just a different item than those others. Like, this has a broader appeal. These are things that are held in higher regard. So obviously reprinting these with new art and whatever is something people are going to want. So they could have easily got away with printing what I think is probably 3 times as much. Now, that said, they did say these will be available later this year in some capacity. We don't know what that is yet. It sounds like they're not going to be in a normal set. So who knows? Maybe they show up in Commander decks. Maybe there's some type of box topper or giveaway. Like, don't know. But hopefully this is the type of information they need with enough lead time that they can put it out there and say, okay, hey, there's still enough room for us to do some cool stuff with these, maybe make more available, and still retain some of their reprint equity on them. Because the goal isn't to print enough that you totally sate demand and reduce their desirability entirely. That's not the goal. But if you can make the secondary market kind of less stressful for people who need to acquire these cards, and they're still something that are desired, then great. They sell more, they make it more immediate money now, and they can actually still have their reprint equity for some future project, set, whatever it is they want to do. So maybe that's where the marks miss. But all I'm saying is, ultimately, I don't hold any negativity against any of these places trying to make their money on this product. They're only going to have 10 of them at most per store. Some stores are getting less from what I understand. So there's just not going to be a lot to go around. And really, maybe there's opportunity for them to do some type of special tournament and use that as a prize. Maybe give one away each to the top 5 finishers, or do some type of drawing for people that spend at least $50 in your store, or whatever. There's other opportunities to get them out and maybe give people a chance to get them on the cheap and still turn it into a cool promotional item. But outside of that, if they're just trying to get their money, it's okay. I mean, especially right now, this is good for them. Really, this is a boon to retailers, whether that's brick and mortar or online, to be able to make some extra money, make a good profit on an item right now while business is very difficult. It's the same as, business is difficult for a lot of business owners right now, but at least they have an opportunity to get a small windfall to help with some expenses, or maybe even pay for a few employees once everything's kind of back and running as normal. But yeah, again, let's try not to beat up these stores so hard for making a tough business decision, but one that actually benefits them in a time that's not the easiest. And if anything, use this as an argument to say, hey, Wizards, we still want more of these. What can you do for us? Maybe encourage your store to reach out to Wizards and say, hey, could they print some more or send some more to you later in the year? I mean, there's a lot of ways we could approach this other than just being mad at a store for trying to get their money. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Remember to hit the bell for notifications. And that's all I've got for you now. We will see you next time.